Can you all hear me? Yeah. All right. Okay. Evenings like this are brought to you by the Social Committee of the Thousands Country Club, which is headed by Irene Chester. Irene Chester has brought you the Twilight Golf, light bike and cars. Irene has brought us, all of us, lecturers such as tonight, by popular demand, return visit by Dr. Gerald Kushel. He is a pioneer. That's his first claim to fame. His second is he is an international lecturer, just returned from England and Athens. Doctor in counseling, Columbia University. Author of 7 books. 2 are bestsellers. Not bad. An international management consultant, a good golfer. It comes under this. But he's also a professor at LIU for the Human Development and president of the Institute for Effective Thinking. We're very, very lucky tonight, thanks to Irene Chester and the Social Committee, that we have Dr. Gerald Kushel.
Thank you very much. First of all, let's make sure everyone can hear. You can hear back there in the back? Yes. Okay. What I'm going to talk about is something that I'm experiencing at this very moment, and the topic is stress. I did not expect this many people to be here, but I think the reason you're here tonight is that the stock market went down 238 points tonight, and it makes this topic very, very relevant. What I'd like to share with you is the results of a research study of people and stress. In a study of 1,000 people who were retired and semi-retired, we gave them a battery of questions and tried to ascertain their stress levels. And what we found was, out of these 1,000 semi-retired and retired people, mostly from South Florida, that about 33% of them were highly stressed individuals. And somewhere in the neighborhood of 60% or so were moderately stressed. And we found a very small group, a group that I like to refer to as the 4%ers, who were experiencing very, very low levels of stress, even though the stock market goes down, even though they're married, even though they have children who are very difficult, even though they play golf and the ball goes in the water, they somehow manage not to get themselves overly excited and overly stressful. And so what I did was what you might have done if you were a researcher. I concentrated not on those people who were nervous and upset, although they make very good stories, and you know many of them, and not the moderately stressed persons, because most of the people in this room, and most of us are moderately stressed, but I concentrated my efforts in trying to ascertain what it was, what the secret was to enable an individual, if it's at all possible in this highly stressful society of ours in the year 2001, what is it that makes it possible for an individual to have very, very, very low levels of stress, even when things are very, very difficult? And I found out their secret. It took me 4 years to discover this secret, and I'll be damned if I'm going to tell you tonight. Now, what I'd like you to do, I think you can figure it out. Let's talk about some of the, well, what is stress? Stress is a lot of adrenaline, a lot of heartbeat, too much to the point where your adrenaline pumps so much it makes you sick. Stress can kill. Your eyeballs dilate, you breathe heavy, and you overload yourself when unnecessary. Now, there are 2 types of stress, of course. There's very good stress. Hans Selye, the famous Canadian philosopher-psychologist, called that eustress, good stress. There is such a thing as good stress. Tiger Woods, coming down to the 18th hole, had good stress, and he responded to it. And Phil Mickelson had toxic stress. And what made Phil Mickelson very sick was trying to applaud when Woods made that putt. I think one of the hardest parts of golf is to show compassion when the person you're playing against is doing well. Or even to show compassion when the person you're trying to beat's ball goes into the water. Oh, that's too bad, you say. And inside, you're felling. And that can kill you. That kind of thing can kill you. It's when you can be authentic, when you can put your cards on the table, when you can relax and be honest, when you can be unpretentious, that your stress levels go down. But what is the secret that I discovered of low-stress individuals? Now, would you kindly pair up with someone at your table? Very best if you pair up with someone that you don't know so well, like your wife or your husband. Pair up with someone you don't know too well and see if you can come up with your theory as to what it is that allows an individual to have very, very low stress levels even when things are very, very difficult. Okay, a 4-minute conversation with the person near you. Pair up, have that little conversation, see if you'll come up with a good idea. If anyone is rather confident of their position, what is the secret, if there is to be indeed one secret for any individual to have a low level of stress, even in very difficult times, what do you think is the secret? Would someone call it out? Yes, lady in the back. What is it?
Problems.
What?
Financial stupidity.
They're stupid. Stupid, okay, they could be stupid. They could be stupid, all right, yes. What? Order in their life. Order in their life. They could be stupid. What? They have a hearing aid. Okay. Positive thinking. Now, all right, those are a variety of ideas, and I'd like to discuss some of them. First of all, stupid. It is a good idea not to know what's going on. They say anyone that's having a really good time obviously doesn't know what the hell is going on. So there is something to be said about that. But there's a time, of course, to pay. Can you hear me in the back?
Yeah.
I just want to add one more.
Oh, go ahead.
Picking the right grandparents.
Having the right grandparent. Okay, yeah. Okay, that helps a lot too. Being stupid is useful. Having the right grandparent is useful. Having good parents. Positive thinking. Let's address positive thinking. I think you may remember I discussed that last year. Positive thinking is not the answer, because positive thinking can often get an individual in trouble. And I like to tell the story of Charlie and Fred. Fred is a very Pollyanna positive thinker. You know the type, very positive no matter what, everything is terrific. So Charlie says to Fred, Fred, you ought to pull the shades down in your house. I saw you there last night with your wife, kissing and hugging, kissing and hugging. And Fred, the Pollyanna positive thinker, says, ha ha ha, Charlie, the joke's on you. I wasn't even home last night. That's positive thinking, but that's not very effective thinking. What we're interested in here is something that I call, for want of a better term, effective thinking. Effective thinking. Thinking that produces the results that you want. And the secret for the 4%ers, as I like to call them, these very low stress people, the secret, listen carefully, I think you'll identify with it, and it hasn't been mentioned, but I think you were close to it. The secret is to take total, not partial, total, 100%, not 99, 44, 100s, 100% what? Self-responsibility. The 4%ers say, these low stress people say, neither he, she, it or they ever make me feel or act in a particular way, but rather they say it's the thoughts that I alone choose, that do the trick, that make me feel stressful or me get sick. And most people don't take total 100% self-responsibility. They are busy with the most insidious defense mechanism known to the human species, the blaming of others. They blame their mother, fathers, relatives, friends, sisters, cousins, and the golf ball. They do not take responsibility. It's not the clubs, it's the Indian that holds the clubs. It's self-responsibility. And I want to give you an illustration. Would you kindly pair up with another person sitting near you, this time someone more interesting than the last. And this time, I would like you to pair up with a nice individual, and I would like you to turn your chairs, face this person, take a good look at this person, and we're going to take you through a very interesting exercise. All right, here's what I'd like you to do. The person who is sitting in your dyad, your pairing, the person who is sitting in your the pairing closest to me, you're going to be the speaker. And the person furthest away, you're going to be the listener. And I would like you to begin every sentence with this, the person closest to me, you begin every sentence for the next 90 seconds with this phrase. Bad weather makes me feel. And then finish that sentence, and then after you finish that sentence, start again. Bad weather makes me feel, come up with something different. And you'll do that for 90 seconds, each time coming up with something a little different. Okay, begin. Person closest to me, other person listening. Bad weather makes me feel. Bad weather makes me feel. Now, the person who was listening, I'm going to take this exercise and do something with it in a few moments, but now the person that was listening, you're going to be the speaker, and I would like the other person, the person that was just talking, to be the listener. And in this activity, I would like you to begin every sentence with, when my children are not in touch with me, I feel. Good. When my children are not in touch with me, I feel. Okay, begin. When my children are not in touch with me, I feel. Conversation now, please. Hold your conversation. Now listen carefully. I want to tell you that you probably come up with some very good feelings about how your children make you feel. And I'm sure you've come up with some feelings about how bad weather makes you feel. And I'm sure that if I were to ask to start another exercise, which we won't do, when the stock market goes down and down and down, I feel. Or when, my golf ball goes into the water, I feel. We could do a million exercises. The truth of the matter is, whatever you're doing right just before, if you participated, you made a big mistake. Because bad weather doesn't make you feel a damn thing. It's your thoughts about bad weather that make you feel rotten or good. And it's your thoughts about your kids that make you feel rotten or good. It's not your kids. It's not the event, it's your thoughts about the event. If a good friend of yours has passed away and you know nothing about it, you will not be depressed. But as soon as you get the news, you get a telegram, Charlie died. Now you're depressed. What depressed you? Charlie's death? No, indeed. It was your thoughts about Charlie's death after the fact, in fact. And that's true with every single aspect of life. This is not nonsense. This is science. It's not the event. Ladies and gentlemen, I urge you to change your ways of operating. It's your thoughts about the event. It's not the event. Bad weather doesn't touch you. Bad weather can be a great day in your own mind. You can look at any situation any way you want. And that's what the 4%ers do. They have a way of taking any situation practically, and looking at it in a way that makes sense. I'm not talking about being stupid. I'm not talking about disregarding important situations. I'm not talking about never being positive. In fact, they make very good use of negative thinking. If they have a loss, if they have a setback financially, or they have a setback in health, and I think many of us in this room know a lot about setbacks in health, they go through very important thinking. And the first step is denial. I can't believe I got this damn disease. The doctor says, sit down, you got it. Look at the x-rays, you got this disease. Denial, can't believe it. Second step is bargaining, trying to get rid of it. Okay, I'll run to another doctor. I'll get another x-ray, I'll go around, I'll shop around. Bargaining, that's very necessary. And then if you can't get away from it and you've got the damn disease, it's very important for you to get angry. It is very healthy. It is not positive thinking, it's effective thinking when you've been given the shaft to get angry. So you get angry, and if you don't walk around angry, then you take it out in the wrong place. You go home and you kick the dog and you don't know why, or you develop a nervous tic and you don't know why, because you're burying genuine needs of feelings that you as a human being deserve to have. Anger is healthy, and it's very important when you have a setback in life. If your golf ball goes in the water, or if you get a terrible disease, or your marriage doesn't work out, or your kids don't do too well, or the stock market doesn't do as you expected, it's very important for you. Very, very important. I cannot emphasize this for you to get depressed. Depression is a very, very healthy aspect of living. And after you've gone through denial, the working through process, denial, bargaining, anger, and depression, you will arrive at a healthy degree of acceptance. And you say, okay, what else is new? I'll work it positive from there. You don't work it positive right away. This is the working through process. Some people get stuck in any one of these levels. There was a woman who was once stuck at denial. Her husband had walked out on her for a loaf of bread 5 years previously, and I was running a little group of, it's called Creative Living After Divorce at Long Island University many years ago. And her husband had walked out on her for a loaf of bread, and she said, he's coming back. Everybody on the outside could see that he's not going to come back. Anybody in their right mind could see that. But we often put the blinders on in our own situation. They said, he's not coming back. So she couldn't believe that. We put her in a chair, and we used the Gestalt therapy technique with the talking chair, and I became her husband, the empty chair. And she said, honey, where are you with the bread? And I said, as the chair, the alter ego, I didn't go out for bread. I just walked away. I couldn't handle the responsibilities of our marriage. And then, of course, she said, what? And she was in shock and disbelief, which is the denial phase. But that's very healthy because she's moving, hopefully, toward a healthy acceptance of a very tough situation. And then, of course, she got angry. She called me. I was the alter ego, an SOB, which is very healthy. That's a very good thing because, you know, she's dealing with her issue. And then she began to cry. And then she began to have a healthy degree of acceptance of this terrible situation in her own family life and began to date and build a life anew. I know there are people in this room who have lost loved ones recently. There are people in this room who are not in this room this year who were here last year. And I was talking along similar lines. I happen to realize that we are faced with losses on a regular basis. We lose our hair, not only our golf balls, we lose our good looks, we lose our swing capacity. Everybody I know around here that's playing golf says, you should have seen how I used to be. The older I get, the better I was. I'm so tired of hearing that statement. I think the attitude should be, I'm getting better every day and a little better than I've ever been. Here's what the 4%ers say. Let me share with you a few of the, what I call effective thoughts that 4%ers utilize in taking total self-responsibility. Well, rather than get into their thoughts, let me tell you their system. I'd like you to leave here today not only entertained with a little coffee, and I'm surprised so many people came, and I understand it's primarily for the coffee, but let me share with you how to live a full life rather than a fool's life. Here's the secret that the 4%ers use in a sentence form. Whenever necessary, what do? They pause. Why do they pause? Because everybody in this room is hypnotized. Every human being is hypnotized. So whenever necessary, you break the hypnotic spell. And then what do during the pause? You identify effective thoughts that you can choose for a given situation. And then after you've identified them, you choose them. Let's talk about pausing. Whenever necessary means whenever you're highly stressed. What do? You pause. I was highly stressed on the golf course with Bill the other day. I was hitting pretty good off the tee, and then I hit a long one, but it went out of bounds. I got stressed. And so I quickly took the ball to take a provisional, wasn't sure it was out of bounds, and hit a grounder, a worm burn, and I'm falling apart. He takes me over, I find my ball, it's not out of bounds. He says to me, Jerry, calm down, because I was all psyched up. I was going to swing again, and I had a really break set. It was a good thing he did, because I calmed down, and I got a good shot, good shot off the fairway. But pausing is what allows you to do it. If you get into this momentum of upset and don't break set and take a nice deep breath, you're going to continue along the lines of failure, of self-defeat.
Maybe we should be listening to Bill.
Well, you should be listening to Bill. I think Bill is very good. He's sitting right next to you. The only thing is he doesn't have a microphone, and I'm the only one in this room wearing a tie. You have to listen to the person with a tie. He's not wearing a tie. Why should you listen to him when his wife doesn't listen? Choose thoughts which are worthwhile. Now, let me explain how to live a full life rather than a fool's life, which can help you deal with stress. The 4%ers have a policy of living a full life rather than a full life, and each letter of the word fool is important. 3 of the harshest realities that all of us, each and every one of us in this room, face, and we can't get away from it. 3 harsh realities. Life is finite. We're not going to be around forever. That's a harsh reality. You know, there's a book called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. You know, you only have 2 very important events in your life, and that's it. When you're born, the day you're born is a very important event, and the day you die is a very important event. But all the rest in the middle is small stuff. But these are 3 harsh realities that happen during the small stuff. Life is finite. Did you know that life, the U stands for unfair. Did you know that life is unfair? Yes. Did you know that there are rotten people doing very well right now in this very moment? Why are you looking at me like that? There are also very good people where bad things happen to very good people, and also just as annoying is when very good things happen to bad people. And I've seen that many, many times right here at the fountains on the golf course. And I'm looking at the guy right now. And also a very harsh reality, and we are all club people. The people in this room enjoy being with other people, but as close as you can get to other people, the 4%ers tell me that bottom line, life is very lonely. That there's a fundamental existential loneliness that's part of life. And if you can handle, ladies and gentlemen, these 3 very harsh realities, and I'm going to give you some methods for handling them, I think the rest will be a piece of cake for you. If you can handle the really heavy-duty stuff, then the rest should fall in line rather easily. Let's deal with the issue of life being finite. There was a space scientist still around. His name was Jastrow. He was at Dartmouth College, and I had a chance to interview him. I thought he was one of these 4%ers. And he explained to me, he said, Jerry, life is finite, but I have a way of making life that's finite very, very enjoyable. And he explained it to me this way. Let's see if I can use this paper here. He said, look. He said, this is the Earth, this is the beginning of the Earth, and this is the end of the Earth. And the Earth is going to last 19 billion years. And at the end, the Earth right now is 7 billion years old. Remember, Jastrow is a space scientist, so he's explained it to me in these terms. He said the Earth is 7 billion years old, and you and I were in eternity, Jerry, for 7 billion years. Do you remember me? I said, no, I don't remember a thing. He said, we were together for 7 billion years, and there's going to be another 12 billion years before the Earth, which is a satellite, spinning around the sun before it crashes in on the sun, or moves so far away that it becomes a ball of ice. In either case, it's going to be a very difficult circumstance about 12 billion years from now, but you and I won't be around to experience that. What we have is our 7 billion years, he explains to me, and now we are on, after being for 7 billion years into eternity, and going back to eternity for another 12 billion years, you and I, he said, this is the way I look upon my life, as if I am on vacation from eternity. And he says, I'll be damned if I'm going to spend my short vacation from eternity like so many other idiots I know who are fighting for deck chairs on the Titanic. And I think that's a very good way of looking at it. It's a very harsh situation. And I think that you're on vacation today. I know that things are tough. I know that we have difficulties. I know there are financial problems. I know that there are trouble with health. I know that there are trouble with your relationships sometimes. But that's small potatoes. You're on vacation from eternity, and some people, when they're on vacation, they don't know how to have a good time. And there are other people, boy, they're on vacation, and they're going to have a good time no matter what. I was on a vacation not so long ago in Central America, and somebody was complaining about the window on the bus, the hotel room. They just didn't know how to enjoy the trip. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but for God's sakes, you're on vacation. Have a good. When I go on vacation, when my wife Selma and I go on vacation, we have a hell of a good time regardless of the circumstances, because we have a vacation attitude. And not only that, ladies and gentlemen, I recommend that you have, and I think I'm speaking to the right people here at the Fountains, that we all have a vacation attitude on our short vacation from eternity. And that's a great way of looking at life. Life is finite. Now the other dimension, unfair. How do you deal with the harsh reality that life is unfair? You know, I worked hard and long trying to help people figure out how to deal with that, and there's no easy way. The only way I've been able to come up with is what I've been talking about earlier. Working through the unfairness. When you get a raw deal, and there isn't a person in this room who is exempt from getting a raw deal from time to time, it happens. It's just going to happen. You're just part of the game. You can do what you can to straighten it out. Use this sentence. Give me the courage to change those things that I can change. Give me the strength to accept those things over which I have no control. And give me the wisdom to know the difference. Some people don't seem to have that kind of wisdom. They think everything is crazy and they make themselves crazy. Life is unfair. When you run into a bum deal, denial, I can't believe this is happening, bargaining, I'll do what I can to straighten it out. Anger, God damn it, this is a rotten deal, I'm furious. Pick your spots. Don't yell in public, but you can certainly use your restroom, or you can go to the privacy of some place and emote and have a good cry. One of the reasons I believe very sincerely men do not live as long as women is they don't have a good cry. They have a stiff upper lip. They are macho. The best definition of macho I ever heard was a man who jogs home from his own vasectomy. That's macho. But it's stupid, you know. I mean, acknowledge the pain and then work it positive from there. Accept reality. Lonely. Let's talk about lonely. Lonely also is the same kind of thing. Most people haven't come to terms with what David Reisman, the famous sociologist, referred to as one's fundamental existential loneliness. And there is a lonely dimension to life. And you and I, we are club people, we enjoy being with people, but you know, you do better with people when you don't need people. You do better with people when you prefer people. The hardest time to get anything in your life is when you desperately need it. The easiest time to get something is when you don't really need it. So you prefer friends, you don't desperately need friends. You prefer good relationships, you don't desperately need good relationships. Preferences rather than needs. And coming to terms with one's fundamental existential loneliness is a part of growing up. Some people never really grew up. I remember in my youth, I thought, oh, everybody's together, we're all a club, it's all a team. I found it doesn't work that way. And if you can come to terms with that and accept your own loneliness and turn that into the acceptance of aloneness, that's a very healthy quality. The great painters have done work alone, the great scientists, the great research has been done alone, not always in groupthink. So yeah, there's something to be said for team building, and there's something to be said for the rah, 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 and the men's association and the group and all of that, but there's something to be said to get better all alone. If you're going to improve your golf game, it's going to be improved alone. There's nobody that's going to be able to hit that ball for you. One of the great things about golf is you get what you deserve. You can never really blame anybody else. It's one of the few sports you can't say, oh, he threw me a curve. The ball was sitting there. Whatever happened to that ball is what you did to it. So it takes self-responsibility, not only on the golf course, but in your entire life. And I want to talk about pausing and choosing for a moment. And I'm going to also share with you a method so that you can choose an effective thought. Once you've identified an effective thought, I'm going to give you a method, a foolproof method, so that you can choose it. And it's going to be based on a technique that I call rapid self-hypnosis. You know, for me to speak to so many people. I don't know how many people in this room, but certainly a lot more than the first time I spoke here, and a lot more than I expected tonight. That's very intimidating. In fact, when I used to walk through the lobby in the morning, occasionally to come and play golf, I'd see my name up on the board. It would say stress. I'd say, oh, that's a very good topic. And then it would say speaker, Dr. Kushel, and I get intimidated. I said, my God, I'm going to speak. That's scary to me. I'm basically a very shy person. That's why I became a therapist. The client lies that way, looks that way, talks. I look the other way. I don't bother the client. The client gets better. I get paid. We don't bother each other. It was a very good living. But then I wrote a few books. I got on a circuit. I was required to speak to people. But that's not my base. This is not my basic disposition. This is something I like to do now because I've learned how to do it. But what you're looking at is a person who has utilized rapid self-hypnosis. I'm not suggesting that I'm speaking very well, but I'm doing a very good Jerry Kushel job. And the reason I'm able to do that is because I have a 90-second method of rapid self-hypnosis that enables me to function as if I'm a very good speaker, even though it may not be me. This is not the real me. Let me tell you something. You will learn in a very short time today how to hypnotize yourself, and you will have the power to have the thought that is going to work for you in the foreground of your conscious mind in the microsecond that you need it. Did you know that you have 10 billion neurons in your brain? In fact, 10 billion neurons. Each one of these neurons theoretically capable of housing a thought. And did you know that you can only have one thought in the frontal lobe of your brain in any given microsecond? And did you know that the thought that's on the frontal lobe of your brain in that given microsecond, that's why you should only have one swing thought when you're playing golf. Did you know that the thought that you have in the frontal lobe of your brain in any given microsecond produces the feelings that go on in your body at that very moment and your subsequent behavior? You're driving your car through the parking lot, a youngster runs out in front of you, you narrowly miss running over this youngster, you pull into your driveway, you get the shakes. What gave you the shakes? The event? No, not indeed. It was not the event. It was your thoughts about the event. Question, ladies and gentlemen, who chooses your thoughts? Who chooses your thoughts? He says he chooses his own thoughts. I'm glad to hear that. Remember last year I asked a similar question, and the person in the front row said, my mother chooses my thoughts. And I said, I'm a therapist, I'll treat your mother, you'll get better. It doesn't work that way. We choose our own thoughts. We want to take self-responsibility. Why not choose thoughts that work instead of thoughts that don't? I'm going to share with you, and this is something I didn't talk about at all last year. We talked about choosing thoughts, and I talked only about consciously choosing thoughts. But you and I know that this brain of ours, with its 10 billion neurons, has a conscious part and a subconscious part. And what I'm going to do is show you how to utilize the subconscious part of your brain. Your brain, I won't have to draw a chart. Your brain, 93% of your brain is subconscious. And that portion of your brain was programmed in the first 5 or 6 years of your life. If you really want to have influence over your children, it's not late in life, it's in the first 5 or 6 years where you have a major impact. And your personality, whatever it might be today, was shaped primarily in the first 5 or 6 years of your life. And that's where your subconscious lies, 93%. The conscious mind is only 7%. Not so long ago I hypnotized a fellow and I said, okay, you're under hypnosis. When you wake up, you're going to go over and you'll shut the door. Well, he got up after the hypnosis and he said, you know, I think I'll go shut the door. And he shut the door. And then he felt a little funny. So after he shut the door, he said, you know, it was quite chilly in here. It wasn't chilly, but what he was doing was rationalizing what was already a subconscious program. And do you know that you and I go through our life rationalizing day by day that subconscious program that was installed in our biocomputer in the first 5 or 6 years of our life? And if that subconscious is working to your advantage, you don't want to fix it. But if it's not working to your advantage, then you would want to fix it. And I'm going to explain to you how to do it. In order to hypnotize yourself, I'd like you to be able to say the word green 4 times. And I would like you to be able to see the color green, a beautiful shade of green. We'll show you, I'm going to explain now, rapid self-hypnosis. 90-second self-hypnosis, which is better than many years of therapy. You can do it in 90 seconds, but sometimes it takes 10 years to do in therapy. You're going to get a message into your own subconscious. You say the color green, you say green 1, and you see the color green, and you say to yourself, relax. So you say, I want you to do this with me. You say green 1, and then relax. You say relax. And now, the first part of relaxation, tighten the back of your neck, make it very tense and very tight, and then relax it. And do that twice. tighten the back of your neck, very tense and very tight, and then relax it. That's the first phase of relaxation. The second one is breathing. Breathing can help you relax. So I'd like you to take a nice deep breath, imagining that you're breathing in airs of relaxation, and then hold it for a second or two, and then let out tension, but let the tension out a little longer than the relaxation airs came in. So follow me and do this. Airs of relaxation as we breathe in. And then tension out as you breathe out, a little more tension out. And do that 3 times. Airs of relaxation as you breathe in. Tension out as you breathe out. Airs of relaxation as you breathe in. Tension out as you breathe out. Okay? Now that's relaxation, and that's green 1. Now you're relaxed. We've relaxed the conscious mind. Now we're going to create an opening in your conscious mind so that it has direct access to your subconscious. Now before we go into green number 2, I'd like to explain some of this theory to you. The conscious mind, if it were to have a personality trait, you would say it's a bit cynical, skeptical. Your conscious mind, fortunately, is a bit cynical, skeptical, and that's because it has to protect the very naive subconscious mind that we have. Your subconscious mind, if you can get a message into your subconscious mind that says you're a terrific golfer, the subconscious will say, no kidding. It'll believe it. It believes anything you can get into it, but it's protected by the cynical conscious mind. So we want to get a nice message into your subconscious. Let's say that you are a relaxed person. Let's use that as the message you want to get into your subconscious. Because if you believe you are a relaxed person, you will become a relaxed person. And if you believe you're a very nervous person, you will become a very nervous person. It's what you believe that's important, and that's from that early programming that you have. So you say, okay, green number 2, and green number 2 is creative self-deception, to create an opening in your subconscious. So what I'd like you to do for green number 2 is join your thumb and forefinger thusly. Would you do that, please? Join your thumb and forefinger thusly. And then say to yourself, after saying green number 2, you say to yourself, no matter how hard I try, I will not be able to separate my thumb and forefinger. And then try, but don't succeed. So what you're going to do is disenfranchise your conscious mind from being in charge of you. All right, begin. No matter how hard I try, I cannot separate my thumb and forefinger. And try 3 times, but don't succeed. Right? Try harder. You can separate them. Don't do it. Oh, go ahead. Try to separate your thumb and forefinger. Go ahead. You can't do it. Don't do it. Okay, that's green number 2. Now, with having done that, you've now disenfranchised your conscious mind from being in charge of you, and now you have direct access to your subconscious. So this time we're going to repeat whatever message you want, whether it's to be a calmer person, whether it's to be a person who doesn't overeat, that has the capacity to manage your diet, or the capacity to exercise, the enthusiasm to exercise, or whatever thought you want to be in the foreground of your conscious mind on a regular basis. You're going to reprogram yourself. So pick a nice effective thought, something that you would like to help you grow a little bit, to be a little bit better. If you can't think of anything offhand, just come up with, I'll be a little calmer, which never hurts anyone. Okay, so you have your nice effective thought, and whatever your thought is, repeat it 3 times, each time exaggerating it. For example, I'm a calm person, I'm a very calm person, I'm an extremely calm person. That message is getting in there because this is green number 3. So you say, okay, that's green 3, and now green 4, open your fingers and say I'm reprogrammed. Now I'm going to walk you through this again. I've explained it a little bit, and I'm going to walk you through it. But before I do, I want to tell you about a person whose subconscious mind was programmed in such a way that you wouldn't want to touch it. This is about a very ugly friend of mine. This friend of mine was with me in college, and he was one of the ugliest guys in the college. He used to walk out, and he usually had 2 very attractive women on each arm and made him look uglier just by contrast. He was a very ugly person, and he didn't know it. He apparently, in the first 5 or 6 years of his life, his mother, his father, relatives, and friends told him, Michael, you're very attractive, you're very gorgeous, you're beautiful. And he ended up leaving this. He was functioning that way. And 25 years later, this very ugly guy I ran into him on 5th Avenue in New York. A big Lincoln Continental pulled up. He's president of a garment manufacturing company. He walks out with a very beautiful wife, and he's telling me that his life has been very good. I found it very annoying. But this man never faced reality. What really bothered me the most was he pulled out his wallet to show me pictures of his kids. His kids look very much like him, and he's going, aren't they gorgeous, aren't they gorgeous? Now that's where your subconscious is programmed to your advantage, and you don't want to mess with it. But if your subconscious is not programmed to your advantage, rapid self-hypnosis. All right, let's go. Let's do it together now, and then you'll do it on your own afterwards. Green one, relax. Tighten the back of your neck. Relax it. Tighten the back of your neck. Relax it. Tighten the back of your neck once more. Relax it. Now, areas of relaxation. In, tension out. Areas of relaxation in. Tension out. Areas of relaxation in. Tension out. Areas of relaxation in. Tension out. That's green number 2. Or green number 1. Now green number 2, join your thumb and forefinger. Say green 2, join your thumb and forefinger. Say no matter how hard I try, I cannot separate my thumb and forefinger. Don't do it. You'll win the battle but lose the war. Okay? Try to separate your thumb and forefinger. You can't do it. Don't do it. Try to separate your thumb and forefinger 3 times now. Can't do it. All right, try to separate your thumb and forefinger. Can't do it. That's the 3rd time. Okay, that's green number 2. Now you go to green 3. Green 3, you're going to repeat whatever thought you want to be in the foreground of your conscious mind on a regular basis 3 times, whatever it is for you. And the thought that's effective for you may not necessarily be effective for any other individual. So come up with a nice thought and choose it 3 times, each time more enthusiastically. Okay? Repeat it to yourself. I won't talk. All right, that's the message in your mind. And now, you say green 4, open your fingers, you got the program in there, the message is in there. I'm going now to be quiet for 90 seconds. This is a 90-second technique. You have identified a nice thought that's going to work for you for whatever situation you need in life, whether it's to get healthier, whether it's to have a better attitude, whether it's to listen more to other people, whether it's to concentrate on your golf game, whatever thought you want, or just to feel calmer. You got a nice thought, you have to have it ready before you begin. The effective thought is ready, and then you go through the 4 green process. When I see that your fingers have opened up, I'll know that you've completed self-hypnosis in 90 seconds or less. Okay, 1, 2, 3, begin. Self-hypnosis. Practice. Okay, I think that you now have a technique that you can take and utilize. Like anything else, it takes practice. You can get very good at this. Another thing that's very important in dealing with stress is to feel good about yourself and to be proud of a few things. What I'd like you to do right now is to pair up with someone at your table that you haven't been paired with before, and we're going to take you through a nice friendly exercise. Would you turn your chair so you're paired with a person near you, please? Not someone you were with before. Okay? And I'd like the person who is sitting furthest away from me, you're going to be the speaker. The person furthest away from me, you're going to be the speaker, and the person closest, you're going to be the listener. And the person furthest away from me, I would like you to begin every sentence for the next 90 seconds or so with confidentially, this is what I want you to say this, confidentially, I am proud of. And whatever it happens to be that you're proud of, whether it's your looks or your children or whatever it happens to be, whatever comes to mind, you just begin every sentence, and each time something different, but begin each sentence with, confidentially, I am proud of, and I would like the other person to listen. Really listen. Okay, begin. Confidentially, I am proud of. Okay, stop. Now, the person that was listening, I hope that you were listening, the person that was listening, what was coming through to you, not necessarily a verbatim repeat of what the person just said, but what was coming through to you between the lines? A kind of curbstone psychodiagnostic evaluation at little or no charge. Okay, a little feedback by the person that was listening. What was coming through to you?
Self-confidence.
Share with the person that you were talking to. Talk to them. What was coming through? Okay, and now hold your conversation. And now we're going to reverse roles. The person that was listening to the other person talking about the things they were proud of, I would like you to begin every sentence with, secretly I am proud of. Secretly or confidentially, I am proud of. And then finish the sentence, another and another sentence. Okay, begin. Secretly I am proud of. Other person. Reversing role. I am proud of. I am proud. Okay, hold your conversation now. Ladies and gentlemen, let me round off where we've been, where we've gone on this little talk of mine, and then we'll wrap it up in this way. Remember, we talked about stress. Stress is too much adrenaline at the wrong time. Your eyes dilate, your heart beats faster, you get yourself very nervous. Maybe 30 people are highly stressed, 30% of the population of retired, semi-retired people are highly stressed. 60% moderately stressed, only a small percentage are at that low stress category. What I'd like you to do is to join the 4% club. Admission is free. All you have to do is give up the most insidious defense mechanism known to the human species, which is what? The blaming of others. And the next time someone tells you bad weather makes me feel, you tell them, oh no, it's not bad weather, it's your thoughts about bad weather. If you do that, you're crazy, because they'll punch you right in the nose. No one really wants to do this. Most people love blaming other people, places, and things. And they even get angry at you when you say, take that away. But if you want to join the 4% club, if you want to join the 4% club, if you want to have a life that's very, very easy, and even in very difficult times, if you want to be highly successful, if you want to inner liberate yourself, if you want to have one of the richest and most satisfying lives ever had by any human being that ever lived in the history of the world, and not at the expense of any other people, if you want to enjoy your short vacation from eternity, do as the widow said to the bachelor, take it from me, don't get married. Okay. If you want to have the caliber of life that I've just discussed, please, you owe it to your family, to your friends, to your kids, to take total 100% self-responsibility. Neither he, she, it, or they ever makes you feel or act in a particular way. Rather, it's the thoughts that you and you and you alone choose that do the trick that make you feel terrific or you get sick. Thank you very much. Coffee, have some cake, enjoy yourself.